A progressive campaign group in Michigan is shifting their support away from the Democratic ticket, putting Democrats' hopes for a victory in the swing state in jeopardy. Abandon Harris, a group critical of the vice president, has endorsed Green Party candidate Jill Stein, with specific intention to remove support from the Democratic Party.
We need to be clear about what our goals are. We are not in a position to win the White House. But we do have a real opportunity to win something historic. We could deny Kamala Harris the state of Michigan.
The group argues the Biden-Harris administration has abandoned progressive policies. Their endorsement of Stein is seen as a signal of disillusionment from the party's left-wing base and may affect Democratic turnout. The endorsement comes from a large demographic of primarily Muslim Americans in Michigan, citing anger at the Democratic Party for supporting Israel in the war with Hamas. Trump also has sided with Israel throughout his entire 2024 campaign, recently saying he is Israel's protector. A recent poll in the region shows 40% of Muslim voters backed Stein, while Trump and Harris trail behind at 18% and 12% respectively. Michigan is home to one of the largest Arab communities in the United States. Stein, a Jewish longtime progressive and Green Party candidate with anti-Israel sympathies, previously ran for president in 2012 and 2016. While her progressive platform includes environmental advocacy, universal health care, and economic reform, she is not without controversy. In past elections, Stein has been accused of being a spoiler candidate by some Democrats, who argue that her campaigns drew away votes from the Democratic Party, ultimately aiding Republican victories. Stein has defended her role, stating that voters deserve more options beyond the two-party system and that the Democratic Party must be held accountable to progressive values. The endorsement could have an effect on the election in Michigan in a race that is already tight. Stein's support may actually be significant enough to be noticed. When she last ran in 2016, Trump's victory margin was smaller than total Stein votes in key swing.
Well. Isn't that special, folks? You're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasir, and I don't want to give myself a pat on the back, but I think I'll go ahead and do it. In fact, I think I'll give myself another pat on the back on the other shoulder. Folks, I'm telling you, I predicted this long ago, and now the news cycles and the pundits and others are coming around to my way of thinking. I've told you, you can take a look at our other videos that we have. My final Electoral College vote total is Donald Trump 345, Harris Walz 193, and slowly, folks, RCP is continuing to inch up to my prediction. They just went up to 302. Why? Because they just added the state of Nevada on the RCP has now flipped over to Trump. The first one to flip over to Trump was PA, then Michigan, now Nevada. You know what I think is going to happen next, folks? Because remember, my 345, and I'll show you what it is. Let me inch up here a little bit. New Mexico. That's eventually going to flip. That adds another 5. I think Minnesota's on the cusp. It's only about a 1 to 1.2 point lead for Kamala Harris right now. Definitely you're going to see in the next week or so, Wisconsin is going to flip on the RCP as well. And then I think Virginia, and then finally Nebraska too. That's how I come to my 345. But right now, so I've got Virginia, Nebraska 2, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and New Mexico. The dominoes have yet to fall. Why are the reasons that I talk about this? The Rust Belt. And then Georgia obviously is foregone conclusion, and so is North Carolina. It's already in Trump's thing, already called that. Why in the Rust Belt is this happening? Number one, black vote is down in Philadelphia and across the board for Kamala Harris, especially in Philadelphia. and especially those people making under 30,000. I think it was the Philadelphia Inquirer, one of the newspapers in Philadelphia, talked about this. Politico ran an article on this as well, talking about this. That in the poorer districts, the poorer neighborhoods, they are going to Trump. And most of these in the poor districts are people of color, the minority vote. That's Pennsylvania. Then you've got the union vote, folks. She's losing the union vote. Men. She's using white men with a high school education. I know we hear about all these women that are going to come out for Kamala, and they're going to storm the polls, and they're going to vote abortion. We want to kill babies, abortion. They're going to do all that. But there's a counterbalance to that. All the women that want to be mothers and want to save children, that are pro-life. So I think there's a negation. And then 2020, you know what? Maybe you didn't, obviously Trump wasn't on the ticket to bring out the full force of the women on the pro-life side. So I think there's going to be a counterbalance there. Then you take a look at Georgia, Michigan, PA in terms of the Muslim vote. I mean, right now, we're going to show you a clip where we're going to have Cenk the Cenk from the Young Turks basically saying what I've been saying for a long time. He's now come to the realization that she's losing it, and that it was never hers. These were all these push polls, folks. These were all these push polls that were supposed to what? Give a backstory drop that Kamala is doing so well, so that you're not left behind. Frame it in such a way, give her polls that she's up by 9, 10, 12, 13, whatever it is, and then slowly, as the election nearby, come back to earth, come back to the realization that Trump was winning all along. Otherwise, these pollsters are going to lose their credibility like they did in 2016, 2020. That's what's happening. Then the Hispanic vote, the black vote, black males, Latino males are flocking to Donald Trump. The demographics, how can you be losing blacks? How can you be losing black men? How can you be losing Latino men? How can you be losing white men? Union workers. How can you lose all of those and still be ahead, according to some of the polls, for Kamala Harris? I mean, it just doesn't make sense, folks. It just doesn't make sense. That's why we've got this right now, where we're showing this 302 to 236 in the real clear polling averages. Now, so I've already given you 302 as of today, the 10th of October. I've told you that I've been talking about 345 electoral votes. Now, if he doesn't freaking flip New Mexico or Minnesota or Virginia or New Hampshire, you think I give a flying F? Of course not. As long as he gets 270 or more, that's all I care. But it would be nice to have that huge electoral landslide along with a popular vote thing, because we got to make it too big to rig, folks. Too big to freaking rig. That's exactly what we have to do. Now, what I want to show you basically is Cenk the Cenk. He's literally coming to tears, folks. He's literally coming to tears. Watch him come to realization that now all of a sudden, he says, 4 or 5 days ago, he said the tables would turn. The tables had already turned. Cenk just didn't want to talk about it back then. And now he's saying that it looks like Kamala is losing, and he's literally crying, folks. Watch this.
New polls are out, and it doesn't look good for Kamala Harris. I have not been this worried in a long time. So we don't have a lot of time left. We have less than a month left, and she's now losing in almost all the swing states. Look, I'm telling you this, not again to ha-ha or whatever. I'm telling you because the pundits are almost always wrong. They never come back and tell you, oh, yeah, we got it wrong, etc. They don't tell you oftentimes ahead of time. They do Monday morning quarterback. They've, you know, all those different things that they do wrong. The reason I tell you guys stuff ahead of time is so you can see whether I'm right or not. So you can see whether you should trust our analysis of what is reality, not what we want, but what is reality. So that's why in that context, let me tell you, 4 days ago, this weekend on October 5th, I wrote, I think Trump is going to retake the lead.
So wasn't that special, folks? Nearly in tears. And so it brought deja vu in a way. Deja vu, you know, deja vu from back in when? 2016. That's when I called the election as well for Trump. One of the few people out there that called that. Put on my Facebook page at the time. I had him at 300 and I believe 25 or 326 electoral votes, and it with 306. Did I care? Hell no, he won. Doesn't matter. But I remember the meltdown that the young jerks, the young Turks, affectionately we call the young jerks, and Sank the Jank and Anna and all those people had that unbelievable meltdown. They were looking at the New York Times meter, and they were, as it was basically going from Hillary Clinton above 90%, and it just kept going down and down and down, down. You just saw their facial expressions. Priceless, folks, absolutely priceless. But here's someone, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit, Rasmussen, People's Pundit, Atlas Intel, Trafalgar, Insider Advantage. These are all great pollsters out there. And Rich Barris and the People's Pundit have been saying exactly the same thing that I've been saying. You look at all the crosstabs from all their polling data. Take a look at all the subgroups that we talked about, all the minority, intersectionality groups that the Democrats like to, slice and dice and put on their political plantations. She is either, in some instances, she may be at the same level of Biden, or she's doing worse than Biden, but she might be doing better than Trump, but she's doing worse than Biden in some of those demographics. We're not saying that she's going to capture the Muslim vote across the country, or the Hispanic vote, or definitely not the black vote or whatever. But I'll tell you what, she certainly isn't reaching Barack Obama-like numbers, or even Hillary Clinton-like numbers. Hillary Clinton got 91% of the black vote and lost. Joe Biden, I believe, got 92% and barely won. Barack Obama had 95, 96%. That's one of the reasons, obviously, why he did win. Now, as it says here, there's an awful lot of red on the Real Clear Politics and RC polling at the worst time. People are breaking. The trend is pro-Trump, and people are starting to get ballots. Worst possible time for Harris. Now, if that doesn't give you pause or concern if you're on the Harris campaign, or if you're from the Trump campaign, you've got to be obviously elated. Take a look at what the Trump internal polls say. And this is coming from Trump's internal polling guru, McLaughlin, and others. But folks, people aren't going to put out their internals if they're doing bad. And this is one reason why I take a look. I just would like an answer to this question. If the Harris campaign is doing that well and they're sweeping everything, why aren't they divulging their internals? Why do we have to get internals from other people? And I've got a couple of people on the inside in both the Trump campaign and the Harris campaign. Won't divulge their names or anything, but I'm getting an update in terms of these are very higher up people that have been involved in the campaigns and are privy to certain things. And folks, I'm telling you, if those internal polling data from the Harris, they know what's going on. They absolutely know. Mark Halperin, who I absolutely really love his reporting, don't agree with all of his politics and all of his opinions all the time. Hey, we don't have to. We can agree to disagree. But he is making a concerted effort to try to bring both sides and try to do what fair and balanced. And like he's saying, he's hearing from a lot of Republican operatives out there that they are absolutely giddy. They have this thing locked down. And he is not hearing that same thing occurring from the Harris campaign. You would think that the internals being leaked from the Trump campaign, where's the counter of that to the Harris campaign? So folks, take a look at this. So here you have this swing state polls by Fabrizio and McLaughlin. In Georgia, Trump 50 to 45, folks. Arizona, he's up by 3. In Nevada, what are we hearing in Nevada, that she's up by 2 or 3? Internal polls, 50 to 47. Pennsylvania, they have him up by 1. Wisconsin by 1. Michigan by 1. North Carolina by 1. This is 5,600 likely voters from October 6th to the 9th. Today's the 10th, folks. This is the stuff that's being put out there. Right? Where's the Harris stuff coming out? I mean, you would want to fight fire with fire and put your own internal polls out there. Don't see it. Never seen it. And I was calling this stuff long before many of these people were doing out there, because I just understand what's happening out there. First of all, I understand folks, I'm telling you, in Michigan, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, that Arab American vote, in that concentration of the tri-states, and obviously in Nevada, folks, the Arab American vote, it's 29% to Trump. Harris is at 27. In Michigan, Jill Stein, 40% Arab American vote. And people don't realize this. It's not majority. Yes, the majority of the Arab American vote is Muslim. But you've got a whole nother 30%. Because the Arab Muslim population is about 65 to 70% of that American Arab vote. The rest of the 30 to 35% are Arab Christians, Arab Jews, Arab Palestinians, and then the huge 85,000 Palestinians that live in Chicago. Where do you think their voting trends are, folks? Those are Palestinians. The majority Muslim, but there are Palestinian Christians there. There's Palestinian Jews that are there. There's agnostics. There's all that there. And then you've got the abandoned Harris that has endorsed Jill Stein and the third party, the Green Party. And remember, Jill Stein was never on the ballot in 2020 in any of these states because they tied her up with so much. They went after her in the courts, likening her to a Putin puppet. And she had to appear in Congress. She had to hire lawyers. The amount of time and money that she has spent defending herself. The attacks were absolutely relentless. Wasn't able to get onto the ballots. And that was all by the Democratic operatives. And they're the ones that are screaming, democracy, democracy's in peril if Trump gets in. These are the people that didn't want RFK Jr. to appear on the ballot, fought him tooth and nails with millions of dollars, hundreds and thousands of attorneys. He still got on the ballot. Then when he wanted to get off the ballot, they fought him that they don't want him to remove his name from the ballot. They didn't want him to come on. They didn't want him to come off. Go figure that out, folks. Go figure that effing thing out. I'm telling you what, folks, when the liberals, the progressives, and the Democrats, they talk about something going on, that the other people are doing it, it's them, folks. It's a freaking mirror. And they're talking about themselves. So this is something that's going on. Now, let's take it some of the swing state polls, okay, from Emerson, which is usually left-leaning. So take a look at this. So here, swing state polls, Arizona, Trump up 2, Pennsylvania +1, Georgia +1, North Carolina +1, Michigan, they got him at a tie, Wisconsin's a tie, and the only one that they have for Harris, Harris, is that in Nevada, she's up 1. So Trump's internals are 7 for 7. Emerson has got 6 out of 7 for Trump. That's what you're seeing out there, folks. I don't know, you make the call. But this is my reasoning. This is what I've been saying from the very beginning. Trump is at 345. I think that the independents are going to break for him. I think the number of black vote is going to increase. I think the number of Hispanic vote is going to increase. The union vote is increased. The white male is going to increase. Hispanic men are going to increase. I mean, all the union workers are going to increase. I can't think of some other demographics, but you think about them, he's going to make inroads into all of them. That's why he's winning now. He's going to win on election day. And people are going to be surprised. They're going to say, what the heck happened? I thought it was so close. It's going to be an absolute blowout, folks. An absolute landslide electorally for President Trump. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow us. Take a look at our other video links as well. My final thought, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.